Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to Insensitivity Training. I'm Cort McCown.
I'm Joe Bartnick.
And we are officially in the brand new All Things Comedy Studios. I want to thank everybody who got on TubeStart and donated and built. This is nice, man.
Yeah, it's like smells clean, too.
It smells clean. It's different than mine that smells a little bit like old smoke and dogs and feet.
Oh, your apartment's much more comfortable. Your apartment, like the stories just come out of the couch.
They come out of the... Maybe that's what the smell is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not feet. Wow, that's disgusting. But we have a special guest today, another All Things Comedy a comedian as well, and a good friend and a racquetball player. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Toronto, Canada, Mr. Harland Williams.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Racquetball. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, well, me and Cort play all the time. Well,
Yeah.
he plays, I kind of get my ass whipped. But
That's not necessarily true. I mean, it's a
Cort
little...
is the king of everything 1978.
that was pretty fucking good. That actually...
I'm sorry to laugh at my...
No, that was good. It's true. Like anything that was done in 1978, I'm still good at hacky sack. You know, I can throw a frisbee and golf. I can do that. That's an old sport.
Do you have a pet rock still? Probably.
Yes.
Probably a boulder by now,
It's a
though,
kidney
right?
stone. It's
Oh,
a
wow,
kidney
wow,
stone
yeah.
that I've kept around.
SARS.
You know? SARS.
Wow.
But it's great to be in here, man. I mean, this is kind of cool. I like what they did.
I sure do.
I like the LG. They went real high end on the video behind us. There's no video today. Thanks, Mike and Aaron.
And I took a
appreciate you.
shower, and I hopped in my pool.
You hopped in your pool?
Yeah.
You just moved. You got a new...
So I'm still swimming at my old place.
Oh, okay.
Wow, rough life to walk in between pools.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, when you're paying rent in both places, I feel like I'm obligated to do something at the other one.
Yeah, you should. You
Yeah,
should. I mean,
right.
at least go back and just take a dump and go and then go right in the pool after.
Well, of course.
Without wiping. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Wow. Ouch. Ouch.
This is insensitivity training.
This is
Yeah.
insensitive. It really is. My senses are being assaulted already.
But you guys have never met. And
No.
what's interesting about the two of you guys that you'll have a lot in common in is Toronto. You play roller hockey, right? You used to play ice hockey. Now you play. This is the hockey king right here. Joe is an
watching hockey, please.
Hockey, but knows everything about hockey. Has his own hockey podcast and
Love to have you on sometime.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, I got some good hockey stories.
Well, I'm sure you do. What do you think? Well, of course, not be mad, but we could talk hockey now for an hour. But what do you think about Randy Carlyle getting the axe?
Oh, the Toronto coach?
Right.
Yeah, well, he wasn't there very long, which is
They don't last
weird.
long in Toronto.
Yeah, and I heard that they were doing pretty good this year. I think they lost
Toronto's good.
five in
They
a row.
were
good.
1 point in a playoff, but Boston just won last night, so now they're 1 point out of a playoff. But basically, that's always the same thing every year. It's like, well, who can get Castle to play defense? And it wasn't Randy Carlyle. So now they have two interim guys. They're basically saving up money to try to buy, Babcock from Detroit. That's what they're going to do.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow. Boy, Toronto needs to win. It's been 50 years.
Since
50 years?
50 years.
67.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a long, especially being Canadian.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Now, isn't the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Have you gone to the Hockey Hall of Fame?
I haven't been to the new one. I went to the old one.
Oh, the new one is
Yeah.
like a church. And I don't like churches, but it's awesome.
Is it good?
Yeah, the downstairs is very kid friendly, and you can take a slap shot against Brodeur, and then have Gretzky and Lemieux come down and try. And I did all that. I was all baked. This is amazing. And they have the real Canadians locker room from Rocket Richard.
Oh, wow.
And then upstairs is just how in Canton they have the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Toronto they just have really beautifully drawn pictures with just a paragraph about the guy all everywhere. And then you could go into this fortress because it used to be an old bank, and then inside the fortress is the original Stanley Cup.
Oh wow!
And like the original, like all the oldest
the old
from like
Conn Smythe and all the
wow. I gotta get
it's
down
like
there.
it's like the Ark of the Covenant, though. Like the sunlight shines into the. It's
wow. It's like Raiders of the Lost Cup,
yes,
type of thing.
Exactly. It's really awesome,
Wow.
especially if you like hockey, and you probably go back to Toronto anyway. I mean,
Yeah, I gotta
definitely...
check that arse out. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I gotta update. It's like me. The 70s. I was in the Hockey Hall of Fame in the 70s.
Did you even were you just knee high to just a little bitty
Just
fella?
a squirt.
Just
a
little bitty
squirt.
fella?
Yeah, a little squirt.
And you're in there just resting your chin on the cup and having a good time and
Yeah, just you know.
You guys are badasses, though. You guys both ride motorcycles and you play racquetball. Let me tell you something. Racquetball is undeniably one of the most dangerous sports. When I was like 5 or 6, my mom played racquetball, and it was like 2 guys and 2 girls in a court, which fit. Like it'd been easier to have an orgy than actually play racquetball. And this dude hit this woman in the back of the head with the racket, and it was like ambulances, and it was like after that, like, and then my next door neighbor like broke his face one time, and like that's when my dad was like, "You got to be a fool to play racquetball." It's
one
crazy.
Of those, it's one of those sports you're in this little bitty thing with hard walls. There's no give. It's not like in hockey when you hit the glass, it gives a little.
And people are swinging rackets.
Yeah, but somebody asked us the other day. They go, "Do you guys want to play us in doubles?" We're like, "No, that's too many fucking people in the court."
Oh yeah, that's just insane.
That's 4.
That's
four. On
four.
the floor.
It's too many.
Yeah,
but
two's enough.
But I haven't hit you really hard. I've hit you a couple times, but not hard.
Well, we have a rule. We have a rule that if it gets too close, you just stop the play.
Yeah,
because we're not playing for a gold medal. So if the ball gets near another guy's head and you're swinging, you just stop. You know, so we have the safety mechanism built.
But there is that thing where he does like to kind of move. He's a good enough player that he likes to move into the center of the court in front of you when the ball goes back. And I don't have any real problem. Like if he's going to stand in the middle and I want to go there, he might take one in the back, you know.
The truth comes out. Oh, you son of a! That just changed the game right there.
Well, you're athletic, and you're obviously the best looking man in podcasting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
But Harland actually has he has some shoulders. Like it'd be tough to get around him. And
Harland's
he's an athletic dude too, who's bigger than you.
Harland hits the ball. Harland hits the ball hard. He acts like he doesn't, but he hits the ball hard. He's a good player. And I do win more than I lose, but I also am one of these people that I don't give a shit. I'm giving at 110% the entire time. And if I can beat him by 15 instead of 13, I want to beat him by 15 instead of 13.
Whereas in Harland stops like, oh, I'm going to hit Cort in the head. I'll give him that point.
I'm like, yeah. I look at it and go, is it close enough to his head? Nah, I can swing.
Yeah.
I can swing.
Yeah.
But no, we enjoy it. We've known each other a long time.
Yeah.
We used to come out and do the Vegas shows when you're one of the first people who were like one of the bigger names that came out when I started doing Vegas.
to the Palms.
Yeah, we had some fun.
Yeah.
We had some fun.
Did it start at the Palms?
It started at the Palms. One of my favorite memories ever at the Palms was the day that your cousin is in the band Bare Naked Ladies.
Yeah.
So his cousin's backstage with us, and another comic, another friend, Sean Tweedley, is on stage. And we just looked at each other, the three of us, and we go, let's just strip down to our underwear and walk across the back of the stage while Sean was up on stage performing. And he wasn't eating shit, but he wasn't having the most raucous set ever.
They were listening.
And all of a sudden, this crowd just starts going wild. What we did, all three of us just went from the backstage. We walked out in our underwear. The three of us, it's nothing but our underwear and socks on. Walked right across the stage and out off the stage and through another door and went back around the back. And all of a sudden, the crowd just starts kind of going wild. And he's kind of like, kind of proud of himself until he looks out of the corner of his eye and sees three guys in their underwear fucking go by.
Yeah, because we walked behind them.
Yeah, we walked behind him.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah,
maybe you had to be.
We needed you last night in we're the Venice.
Oh yeah, did you do the Venice
Underground? Yeah, it was fun. I had a fun set.
What's the Venice Underground?
It's a cool night where they do it. It's right off the boardwalk, so it's a mix of like outside is a mix of homeless people and heroin addicts, and then inside you go downstairs in this really old. It's a very old bar. and it's very cool. Actually.
And it holds up, and they get 150 people in there, and for free,
and it's great.
And they love the shows.
Oh,
it's like an amazing. It's always an amazing show.
It looks a little like a bordello downstairs.
Well, then after us, we had Burlesque.
Yeah,
and it was funny, and I wanted to stay because the chick had nice tits, but I forgot my wallet, and I was like, I don't need to get pulled over. Like, I'd rather just have like nothing on my breath.
Oh yeah, yeah.
then explain I don't have a wallet, and you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And my tail light and my lights are out of my truck from Kenny Wayne Shepherd's house.
Yeah, when he backed into a tree, the lights went out.
Well, the one light is skewed.
You hit a tree?
Yeah. I've given a lot to this podcast. Wow. It was a rainy day.
What kind of tree?
One that wouldn't get out of the way.
Damn it! Not very quick.
I'm not quick. It's one thing I'm not as quick. Yeah, I'm not quick.
Yeah. Well,
I'm hard to move once I get in front of the net, but I'm not quick.
Not quick. Doesn't matter. You don't do the butterfly well, but you do it.
Well, that's what happens when people run into, even like playing comedy basketball, people bump into me and they're like, Jesus. I'm like, dude, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said when I met him. I said, geez, you're a solid dude.
Like Joe's a solid guy.
Yeah.
Skateboarders find out that too.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, I'm not going out. You know, you can hit me. You know, I'll help you find your board. But I'm not getting out of it. I don't make quick movements.
Yeah. You don't need to.
It's interesting because when you think about it, of all the people like you want to fuck around with, especially like now you see like these bouncers in clubs. And bouncers in clubs now are not necessarily the guy that's like, you know, built like he works out or anything. It's the guy that's so solid that like he just moves through the crowd. Everything goes out of the way. You can't move the guy, and then a guy can just wail on him, and he really doesn't feel it, and he just like grabs him by the scruff of the neck and takes him out, which is what you used to do.
Look at my nose. Yeah. That's what.
Oh, did you used to be a bouncer?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of bouncing.
Did you ever have a time when you were bouncing where there was like one of those instances where shit broke out, where you go, this is ugly. It's gonna get really ugly.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Did you really?
Well, I worked right next to the. When I was a kid, I worked my first real bouncing job. I was in charge of the bouncers and underage bartended at the Clark Bar and Grill in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
which is right next to Three River Stadium.
Oh shit!
Which we would have like 6 bouncers and like a couple off-duty city cops, and there was a war. It was every night was like the NWO.
Right.
It was just crazy. And we only had like 3 rules: like don't touch a waitress. If a waitress wants you gone, you're gone. If a bartender wants you gone, you're gone. You're gone. And like don't rip shit off the wall. And we'd still end up tossing a bunch of people. But I mean, it was it is what it is.
What's the rule with bouncers though? For like from a litigation point of view, are bouncers legally allowed to hit people, or is it just...
I haven't done it. I haven't bounced in like 20 years.
But what's the legal law? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Back when I did it, in Pittsburgh, the legal law was, the cops are all your buddies, and you give them Jack and Cokes, and you can kill whoever you want. Right. Nowadays, with cell phones and and like women cops, and I don't know what the real story. This is Pittsburgh in the late '80s, early '90s.
So there's no actual law that gives bouncers the authority to use physical force, like under the protection of the law.
I think you have to get hit first,
and then
I would think.
But that's the way it always. But I mean, like I used to train them. I used to be in charge of it. I'm always like. We're always the nicest guys, and this is when I was big. My nickname was Indian Joe. I was twice as big as I am.
Cuckoo's Nest?
I was twice as big as I am now. Maybe not weight wise, but muscle. And I was always like, just be nice to everyone, because people are happy when the bouncer's nice and everyone's cool. And the minute that you do something, then it's your ass. If you're always just sitting on the stool hanging out, then it's like there's never a problem, because they don't know what's going to happen to them. And I always kind of worked in some joints that had some reputations where people didn't really want to find out what would happen to you.
Yeah.
Was it easier to punch a guy or just throw a guy?
My move is always instantly grab a guy by the neck. And I was strong enough to pick most people up by the neck. Because when you have a guy by the neck and they're against the wall, they usually listen to you.
Yeah, I guess.
I would have to say that would make me fucking listen. Somebody has you, because that's like the thing. Like, have you ever been punched in the neck? That hurts.
Yeah,
that hurts.
The force is strong in this one, Luke. Didn't Darth Vader do that in the first Star? Remember, he picked one of his cronies up by the neck.
Yeah,
Aaron's right up in the air.
You're asking the wrong dude about Star Wars.
Yeah, I think I've seen it, but it's been a long time. It's been a while.
That's why we have guys behind the scenes. The Star Wars guys work in the crew.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, player. We got a Star Wars player.
So now let's talk about some of your movie career, because you do have some of the all-time favorite movies.
You don't want to talk about when I bounced?
Yeah, when you bounced.
I bounced at a Chuck E. Cheese.
At a Chuck E. Cheese in the bouncy house with the balls.
Like the kids are a lot easier to pick up by the throat, by the way. Like 4 years old and younger, just you can pick them up. You can even put a finger under their chin.
Even the retarded ones?
Yeah, even them. They kick a little more, but
they don't know when you're saying get out. They're like, what?
Yeah, but
their heads are heavier.
Oh, sweet Christmas crumble cake. May you wake up in Nelly Furtado's fleshy arms.
Oh, Jesus.
Is that a man or a woman?
Have you ever done Furtado? Nelly Furtado?
I've never done a Nelly Furtado.
You've never had sex with her?
No, I have not. Have you?
She must not live in the Western
Just
Hemisphere.
in her
I'm not
fleshy
answering.
arm. In her fleshy arm.
You take my silence as whatever you want, but I'm not answering.
So let's talk about you. You
I'm scared of the real Nelly.
Yeah.
I know who that is.
Who's Nelly?
The real Nelly?
Yeah.
The rapper dude. It's getting hot in here.
Nelly, the guy with the golden tooth?
And the
guy?
Band-Aid.
Well, that's a pretty broad.
What happened to that guy?
That's a broad spectrum.
He's an actor now.
He was huge.
You guys
for
are
a
probably
while.
auditioning for the same roles.
That's true.
Funny guy, tough guy.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, Nelly.
Well, this just took a wrong turn. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I was just joking. I'm just saying.
I actually think Nelly has like the greatest video ever.
Which one's his?
Tip drill.
Oh,
On BET,
yeah.
on BET Uncut. Remember that one?
Love it.
BET Uncut was the greatest 2 hours of television ever.
Yeah.
But you had to get your work done because right after it was over, then the Reverend would come on.
No way.
Yeah, exactly.
There's like the Reverend on. There was like a real like.
You know, like on Sunday, like it was always like midnight to 4 a.m. would be like BET Uncut of just like the greatest black hot ass videos ever. But then it'd be like Nelly, like I need a tip drill, boom. It'd literally be like, whatever, a priest, like, but a Reverend dude.
Yeah,
literally like instantly. It wasn't even like a commercial, and then the Reverend.
Now that you've beat off to all this hot ass, we're going to shame you to death right after it. You're sitting there with a dirty sock.
Why
on your
was it?
chest.
No,
As you're sitting there with a dirty sock on your chest, he comes on and goes, "Oh, now Jesus says," and you feel really bad.
Yeah, and because he's black, he's kind of like real. Like he's a real minister, as opposed to like a white guy begging, just getting money.
Begging
like
for cash.
He's really like feeling the Lord.
Do they have that in Canada growing up? Do you guys have the evangelist?
God?
No, I know you don't have God. I've seen Canada,
Yeah.
but I mean, but do you have like the evangelist? Like, because when I was growing up, that was like, you had Billy Graham, you had all the guys.
Yeah, we'd get all the feed from the States.
Oh, did you?
The evangelists, we'd have like the Ernest Angleys.
Oh,
and
Ernest
people like
Angley
that.
was my favorite, man.
Yeah,
because he did the
crazy.
one. Ernest Angley had the thing where, especially like, I think it was like in the late 70s, early 80s, when they just finally figured out that cigarette smoking was bad. He would have people come up and they were cigarette, and he would go up to and he'd put his hand on their forehead and he'd go, "Out the nicotine devil," and they would all fall back. And then they would. And remember that?
Yeah, devil get out.
Devil
and
get
he'd, like,
out.
push their foreheads.
He'd push their forehead and they'd fall back. And my favorite was "Out the nicotine devil."
And they'd have a little seizure.
Yeah,
they'd
they'd have a
tremble
little seizure and tremble. I'd like to have just go on that one time and like have the guy do that and go, "Oh, bullshit."
Yeah.
Just like stand up and go, "Fuck,"
There's still guys doing that. I saw one recently on TV. I forget where I was, but there was a guy walking through the crowd, touching people, and people with one leg all of a sudden grew a new one, like Swamp Thing, and were walking.
No fucking way.
People were like getting up out of wheelchairs, and blind people were like, doing Rubik's cubes. All of us, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's like this guy was doing more miracles than God himself. It was unreal.
See, that's the weird thing, and the craziest part about it all is everyone that's there and the 4 million people that are watching this buy into it, and they all start sending in money because those guys are making millions of dollars a day.
People need something.
We need a preacher in the studio. It would have.
Yeah. Well, let me hear. Out the nicotine devil. Yeah.
Send your money to Cort McCown and all things comedy.
To Insensitivitytraining.com. Send your pledges.
It works. It works.
Ooh.
Well, because you were born in the Bible Belt. I mean, that's the epitome.
I had a babysitter when I was growing. Like, your mom. And your mom always, like, you have one like babysitter that your mom hires like all the time because she's the only one that can keep you in check.
Yeah.
Like, I had 2 brothers. There was 3 boys. It took a fucking powerful woman babysitter to keep us from fucking burning shit down. And we had this lady named Mrs. Hervel. Swear to God, that was her name. And she wore her hair in a bun. And I mean, like, always in a bun. Never saw it not out of a bun. And it was like, I mean, it was wound tight, this fucking thing was.
Oh.
And she was like the kind of woman that like had like 9 kids she took care of. And was like the woman that cleaned your ears with a bobby pin. Like, I mean, it was like, it's just like whatever. She knew how to do everything.
Yeah.
And she used to take
us... keep a man.
No man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She wasn't, she was not like photogenic, let's just say.
I didn't think she was.
No. And she used
Most people that are photogenic find easier ways to make money than raising someone else's 3 kids for hours at a time.
Exactly. And but she used to have a fucking tight grip, and she used to take us.
No,
not that kind of. I wish, but no. But she used to take us to her church, which my mom wouldn't. My parents never went to church, but they'd send us with her. We went to this thing called the Church of Christ in Oklahoma. And let me tell you something. This is some fucking racist, fucking bigoted, fucking homophobic shit that goes on in these churches. I mean,
racist?
Oh, racist, dude. I mean, not like out and out, like, but yeah, a little racist, man. A little fucking weird. It's a little fucking weird. You go in there.
Don't they need everybody's money?
No,
black, white, yellow, green.
I know. I don't know. There's not a. Maybe today there is, but this was in the 70s. There you go.
There you go.
Back in the 70s. And, we'd go in there, and the whole thing was, like, they sang the hymns the whole night, and they would smack you. Like, they had no problem, like, you in church. They'd sit there, and you did something wrong, they'd just fucking smack you right in the back of the head, or, smack your hand, or whatever. You had to be calm.
What would they smack you with?
Their hand.
Wow.
Maybe
they're just trying to get the tobacco devil out of you.
Get the nicotine devil
out.
The nicotine.
People are probably chewing in that church, right?
Huh?
People are probably chewing tobacco in that church.
I don't know, but it was fucking weird, man. That was some weird shit.
I feel like we have Harland here. We should talk more with Harland.
Let's talk more with Harland. Well, I want to talk about, because you have probably you have like one of those you have those movies that have the real quotable quotes. And I think that's a cool thing to have. If you're in a movie and you have, I mean, obviously one of the most famous ones is from Something About Mary, and that's the 6 minute abs. Was it 6 minute abs?
6 minute abs.
6 minute abs, and it's like one of those things where it's like, it's really funny because when you look at it, like, if you always go 6 minute abs, 6 minute abs, and everyone fucking knows what you're talking about. Do you get that a lot? Do people?
Yeah. People, the movies like stood the test of time with that. People just remember all those lines and quote them to me. People remember them better than I do, to be honest. So, yeah, it's real nice that It had an effect on people,
Because you got to do probably the two of the Farrelly brothers' biggest hits, Dumb and Dumber, and Something About Mary.
Yeah,
those are two of their biggest.
They're my favorite movies, regardless that I'm in them. Out of their movies, they're my top 2 favorite.
Well, I think when you look at Dumb and Dumber, like, you never would have expected Jeff Daniels to be as fucking good as he was.
Yeah.
As fucking in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
That was like probably, I mean, because you look at him now, he's in like Newsroom, and and I saw Dumb and Dumber 2, which was just an absolute piece of shit. You know, it was just such a bad movie. You're not.
But
missing anything.
one is it's what it's all about.
Yeah, number one. Yeah, number one is what it's all about.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like I thought Dumb and Dumber is probably the favorite one.
Was that your first role?
Yep, first movie. Yeah,
first movie ever. You
Yeah.
come out of the gate with Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And then when did you do the one with Chappelle?
Half Baked.
Half Baked.
Half Baked. We did.
Was that after Something About Mary?
No. Half Baked was before Something About Mary.
And how did you hook up with Chappelle? Was it just happened? You guys happened to hook up, audition? I mean, did you meet before? Did you guys knew each other before?
Yeah, Dave and I worked a whole lot around Hollywood at the comedy clubs. We were both kind of working at nights in the Hollywood clubs, like doing guest sets all over the place. So we'd see each other a lot. And then when Half Baked came up, I didn't know anything about it, but Dave and Paramount Studios, like they wanted me for it. So they asked me to do it, and I think I turned it down like 4 or 5 times. I didn't want to do it because it was a drug movie. Right. And I was a little conflicted about, doing something that, kind of promoted drug use in a way. And, not promoted, but I don't know. I was concerned about doing a movie about drugs.
Okay.
And so I passed on it, and then finally they just kept coming at me, and I kind of started thinking, it's just another role, and I'm an actor. I'm not, but so I was a little conflicted, but I finally ended up doing it. And I was happy about it.
Because that's a cult classic.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, it's another one of those things. It's like you look at, and it's like, I don't think you could say Dumb and Dumber is a cult classic. It's just a big hit movie, and I think Something About Mary kind of borders that cult classic and blockbuster, because Something About Mary's kind of a weird. I mean, the Farrelly brothers are fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, the funniest guy in that movie to me is Matt Dillon. When you go back and watch the movie again, like now that he's kind of faded a bit from the acting scene, it's like if you watch what he does in that movie, he's just hilarious.
He was my favorite part of the movie. I actually walked out of that movie.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, before or after my part?
Well, I saw you. No,
that's what did it.
No, just
right
like the last.
part.
I used to get free movie tickets from being a comic in San Francisco, so I walked out at more movies. I did, but I just the very end. I never saw Favre. Like I never saw.
You never saw the Favre.
I never saw the Favre part. But yeah, I just think it's great that I think you have the career that I think everyone wants, in the fact you're just in a couple great movies. And and that's what you want. You want to be able to say, like, it's like, what movies are you in? It's like, I was in Half Baked and Dumb and Dumber and Something About Mary. Like, oh. It doesn't. It's not like 30 movies that are like, You're like, and are not one hit wonder. Like you're in like 3 fucking boom.
Thanks, man.
It's not. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Because I remember when I first started comedy, when I very first, like I was still, did like 2 open mics. And like first 1 week worked at the Punchline as a door guy. I met I forget his first name. I forget his name right now. But Mr. Pizza Man. He's like stand-up comic forever. I feel bad for
Pizza Man?
From Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, Taylor Negron.
Yeah, Taylor Negron.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And this was 30 years later than that, and I'm still like, this guy's still a headliner. I know he's done other stuff, but he's still a headliner on, like, he was pizza guy. Boom. I'm like, you've done a million things, and you're a machine. But you know what I mean? That's all you really need is like. Unlike the billboard of any comic club, he was in Dumb and Dumber and Half Baked. Like, okay, you know what I mean? It's an amazing thing.
Oh yeah,
that I wish someone would let me do it.
Jeez, it'll come.
No,
come.
I don't. I can't act. I don't. So, but
don't say that. You just undermined yourself.
If
people know.
Oh,
now I don't believe it for one Nelly Furtado second.
But you go back to looking at. I mean, I'm looking. I just kind of look through some of the stuff you've done, and I mean, I know a lot of the things you've done, but I mean, it's like you got like the whole 9 yards. You've got to work with some pretty cool people. Bruce Willis, Matthew Perry's a funny dude. You got to work with Patricia Arquette. You got a blowjob from Patricia Arquette, or not? Was it Patricia Arquette?
Not
Patricia.
Not the man one, right?
Rosanna. I got
Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah.
Rosanna, you
with
got
the one with the overbite.
Yeah. You got. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did that work out?
Well, it was a movie blowjob, so it wasn't real, by golly.
I know.
Yeah.
But you could imagine. You were imagining, though, right? You're a method actor, so you actually said you've got to put it in your mouth for this to really work for me.
How many girls with big overbites did you go through just to just to practice?
Oh man, I should. Looking back, I should have. You guys are right about this.
And then when you also go back, because you've also gotten a chance to star in your own movies, like Rocket Man.
Yeah.
And Rocket Man was like one of those. Now that's another one. Because we worked the road together, so I it's inevitably someone always brings the Rocket Man poster, or they bring the Rocket Man DVD, and they're always like, you got to sign, and it's like, and that's another one of those. It kind of became the cult classic movie.
Yeah.
And how is it that you are? So do you consider yourself now a cult classic?
God, I never thought about it, buddy. But I think I'd just say, I've been in some really classic, cool movies, and Rocket Man's interesting because, when Disney released it, they kind of marketed it more towards kids and families, even though I think it could have played at any level, because I kind of, geared the humor towards more the Ace Ventura, the college crowd, but tons of kids watched it, and now there's all those kids are like 22, 23 years old, and now I've got this whole resurgence of Rocket Man fans coming to my live stand-up shows, so it's pretty darn cool.
It's got to be fun.
It's a new wave.
And then you do a lot. Also do animation. Do Robot Chicken. You do a lot. You've done some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Robot Chicken. Are you behind that?
I wrote on it for a season.
Oh my God!
And did some voices.
I did not know
that.
Is absolutely one of the absolute funniest things ever.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
I bet it. Oh, it blew me away. How did you guys pushed every envelope on that shit?
It was pretty edgy. It was fun to do. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the process of that? With do you write it and then they animate it, or because
you write it first
and then they
animate it.
They claymation.
Yeah.
So how long does it take them to claymate all that stuff?
That stuff's a long process, but the skits were as you know, pretty short. I think our longest skits were like maybe 2.5 minutes was considered a long one. And I think every now and then they did like a 4-minute one, but they were really, really so. The studio, we would write upstairs in a writer's room like about this size. For those of you listening, 40 feet by 40 feet or 30 feet by 30 feet, whatever the dimensions are
18
here.
18 meters by 18 meters.
Metric for the European listeners.
The Canadians, yeah.
There you go. And
they still use metrics in Canada?
Yeah. Canada, it's tough too. I get confused because I'm used to gallons and inches, and I was up in Canada and I went to a 7-Eleven and I bought 22 kilometers of milk one day. Yeah. And I walked one day. I clocked it out. I walked 3,250,000 millimeters to the mall. And that wore me out.
That wore you out, that quarter mile.
That's millions.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? The only thing we've taken is the 2-liter. Just Coke and Pepsi.
2 liter
the only
Coke,
thing we've taken from the metric
system. That's all you
system.
need, really.
They actually, I remember when they were actually trying to convert that, and it was like, fuck off, we're not doing that.
Well, the reason they do it, they say the metric system is more precise. It's fractionally a little bit closer to perfect, and that's the whole reason for it. Yeah. The measurements are closer to perfection than
the
math
is easier. And I'm no good at math, but isn't the math, because it's all ones and zeros. It's not like, I guess that's why it's easier for fractions,
I guess, but I don't like it. I was one of those kids that got scorched in the middle. I grew up in Canada. We started on the gallons and the inches and the pounds. And then when I was in about grade 6, the government said, well, we're going to switch over to the metric system, kids. And, I just got the gallons and the pounds and the inches in my head. And then I kind of had this rebellious thing, like, I ain't changing, man. I'm happy where I am. So
I ain't changing, man.
I barely figured out metrics.
Man, I ain't changing.
I ain't going down metric street, player.
But going back to the animation stuff.
Oh, yeah. Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I wanted to say, and I didn't spit it out correctly the first time was, how much rewriting do you do, or once the clay's in there? Because I know Simpsons or South Park, they kind of change it up at the very end if they have to.
Yeah, animation's tough. Once you've locked it in, it's tough to move stuff around. It's a little easier now with the digital era we live in. But it's never easy, and it's costly. So
you never really had like a run, like you test it and see if it worked, and if it didn't, you go back and they just whatever you wrote, they did.
No, the writers hand it off to the storyboard guys, and then the storyboard artists and the animators kind of, futz around with the posing and the direction and this, the whole scene. And you'll be amazed how much comedy in whatever animated movie you watch, whether it's a DreamWorks or a Disney thing, a lot of the comedy and action and stuff like that gets created by storyboard artists and directors and stuff. So the writing's interpretive to a degree. There's jokes written on the page, but animators can really make a scene and the humor pop just on how they model and draw everything out and position it.
Don't you think that's like the big new advance in animation? Like I have a kid. Well, hey, I watch Boomerang all the time.
Nice,
like Hanna-Barbera stuff, and it's all pretty much flat it's great animation, but and now it's like the animation's just so sophisticated in a way.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like
Doc McStuffins and stuff.
Yeah, where it's just like it kind of blows your mind compared to the old stuff.
Yeah. It's incredible. I mean, just look at Avatar. That was a form of digital animation with a lot of that stuff in there. A lot of the effects, a lot of the creatures, a lot of the backgrounds. It's stunning.
I don't know your whole cat. Have you ever acted against animation?
How do you mean? Like
against a green screen, where we're actually doing something and the character's not there, so it's done in green screen?
You know what I mean? Like if Scooby-Doo or whatever. Have you ever?
I did an episode of Scooby-Doo. I think what you mean is like that stuff where where you put the sensors on your body and act in front of a green screen type of thing? Or just
no?
Voice
I mean just like if you ever been in a movie where there's like one of the characters is
animated.
It's animated where it's not there. You know what I mean?
Oh, I did a Disney movie where I had to do a bunch of that stuff in front of a green screen, and it wasn't with another character, but it was with a bunch of objects and inanimate objects and birds and things like that.
You have to fake that or pretend.
You have to fake all that. Yeah. So
is that tough? Is that
it's
tougher?
weird. It's weird because you're conjuring it all up in your head, and so you kind of have to visualize it so you have a point to look, and it's very strange. It's like acting in a vacuum.
But right. See, and that kind of leads into what I was going to say next is that you have this mind of like, I don't know how to describe it other than if they haven't seen you do stand-up, it's fucking fun because you are a very animated person. And I don't know, is it just come from the way you did comedy or the way what makes you funny? Because to hang out with you, we have some, for our listeners, I'll tell you great stories. We went to a party one time, Harland and I and Tom Green were all together. And we go to this party, and the whole night, we basically played these characters. And it's like, it's ourselves, but Harlan walks in, he goes, yeah, we're opening an Olive Garden down on La Cienega and Melrose next month. It's going to be opening up next month. Cort's going to be running the night manager. And we just kind of did this thing all night. Yeah. And it's like, and you just kind of think in this weird, and I don't mean weird bad, I mean weird fun.
Yeah.
You think in a weird way that I don't know how to fucking describe it unless you're there and you experience it. It's fucking strange because you're like all night long he's going around and going out, talk to Cort about the breadsticks and completely serious, like, I know you're joking, but you were completely, we had literally people Googling Olive Garden, La Cienega and Melrose. We had people texting us going, well, can we come in Thursday? You know, like we sold it that
can,
well.
but Wednesday night is all-night breadstick night.
Wednesday night's all-night breadsticks.
You might about Wednesday.
Yeah, think about Wednesday. And talk to Cort, because he runs the breadsticks.
He's the night manager.
He's the night manager.
Cort's banging chicks who he said he gave them waitressing jobs.
Yeah. But is it like, it's interesting, but do you like, is that just, where does that come, I mean, if you don't mind me, where does that come from that you kind of do live, and you don't live in it, but I mean, but you kind of love to create this world of fantasy that, like, I think one time we were my dad invented jelly and your dad invented peanut butter, and that's how we met.
Yeah,
you know, like you create these great scenarios and you kind of live these scenarios through a night. And is that just like a weird, like, not, and I don't mean weird bad. I mean,
no, I hear you. It's a perpetual search for a means to entertain myself.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't, for whatever reason, as much as I love comedy and all kinds of entertainment, I sometimes get bored with it quickly because it's like I need stuff that's like totally kind of twisted and obscure to really get me giggling. Like, I'll laugh at everything else, but to really get me giggling, I like kind of stuff that's off the wall more than anything else. So I think it just comes from trying to amuse myself. And when I can draw other people into it, it amuses me even more. I was in Vegas once with our boy Sean Tweedley.
Yeah.
And we were up in the Ghost Bar, up on the, it's 100 degrees and everyone's out. And, people were recognizing me. And I'd see people lock eyes with me from across the bar, groups of people. And I'd wave them over. I'd be like, oh, come here. I'm waving. I'm so animated. And they're doing that thing where they point at themselves. Like, what, me? You want me to? I'm like, yeah, bring everyone over. I'm yelling. I got some great news. Come over. So like 4 or 5 people, 6, 7 people at a time would come running over. I go, guys, I got some great news. I can't wait to tell you. And they're like, what? What is it? And I go, you see this guy here? And I'd point to my friend Sean Tweedley. And they'd go, yeah. By now I've got them all whipped up into it. I go, this guy works at Baskin-Robbins, and he just got promoted to milkshake maker. And they'd be like, what? And you just to see their faces drop.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of like, that's the kind of fun, fun stuff that, like, when you're in the middle of it with you, you're like going, what the fuck is going on? Like, how do you, like, you're telling people I make breads, I'm the breadstick guy and the night manager night. And it's like, and that's not what it is. It's just, you need that, like, you need that kind of.
Just makes me laugh. And if I'm at a party or something, I get bored. I'm not a real boozer. I'm not a partier. So my kind of fuel to have a good time is to just get silly and goofy and kind of start fabricating this world of madness where nothing really makes sense, but you draw people into it and suck them into this weird reality where they're not sure what's real anymore. And it makes me laugh.
I would love to see how dumb the people are who thought that your dad was George Washington Carver.
Oh, my God.
See, and that's like, that's perfect. That's
everyone knows, like, even I know that George Washington Carver invented peanut butter.
Well, I know, but this was like...
And Harland's one of the whitest people I know.
Yeah. Well, we actually, the other thing we did is we were in Vegas at a top nightclub. It was called Fusion or some crazy... And we were at a party, and I got everyone gathered up, and I was bringing them all over and introducing them to you and saying... this guy's father, this is Cort Baskins, and I'm Ed Robbins. Our fathers invented Baskin-Robbins, like just ridiculous stuff.
And it's weird, but it's weird, like, because you don't know what the fuck he's gonna say, like what Harland's gonna come up with. So you're just kind of sitting there, and he kind of comes up with it,
like I am right now.
Yeah. And you're like going, what the hell is going on? I don't get it. I don't know. And. Now, where does that just boredom, just sheer boredom?
Maybe not boredom, but there's a little bit of boredom, and then I also like to push people's buttons that are unaware and see how they react.
Have you ever pushed people and it went the other way?
Not really, because I kind of do it so convincingly that they can't refute it or dispute it. Like they're kind of just confused.
Right.
Because logically it could have happened. Like I was with a guy one night and I convinced everyone who came around that he won a Pulitzer Prize because he, when you open a can of Pringles, it's got to be standing upright. Well, this guy would lay them down and take the Pringles out sideways, and he won a Pulitzer Prize, and people were just, what?
I'm confused already.
I know, but I convinced them that he kind of came up, his mind was so deep that he could lay the can of Pringles down sideways and extract the chips versus having it standing upright and taking out chips. And I convinced people. And one girl told me to fuck off. But it's an intense, deep thing, Pringles laying sideways.
Okay.
Maybe I've smoked too much weed.
We
needed a video for today for this.
Yeah.
Where's fun.
Mike Flynn?
So now when you, does that help with you? Because now you've created your own animation series. You've got your own animation series you're going to be doing.
Yeah.
And does that help you create, does that help? Because animation, I think, is like one of those things where, like I said, you watch a lot of animation with your daughter. You watch a lot of stuff.
And by myself.
And by okay. But
no, I do both.
Do you find it really
It's great. My kid loves Family Guy.
Yeah, Family Guy's one of my favorites.
It's so great because my daughter's 10, so it's like she's really getting a wicked sense of humor now.
Well, because it's got a certain sense. Do you think you can go because Family Guy goes way further because it's animated than anybody could. You couldn't do that on a show. You couldn't say half the things you're saying.
South Park goes everything on television goes way more that isn't some guy.
Right, I know, but I think animated. Do you find that that's like pretty much the case?
It's great because that plays into you can as deep as your imagination can go. That's what you can do with animation. There is no limit, So that's the beauty of it. I love it. It's just like
Can you talk about the new animated show yet?
I can't yet.
You can't yet?
I cannot talk about it yet, but next time
I'm
here I can.
Does it involve Pringles? Or
no, it does not involve Pringles.
It is mind-blowing as Sideways Pringles.
Yeah, it's a Pulitzer Prize-winning show.
I think you should have a guy on there that has a Pulitzer Prize because he opened a can of Pringles sideways, and you should show it on there. And
it's hard. People can't swallow it. It's very intense for people.
It's worth
to think
a Pulitzer
that way.
Prize, actually.
It really is.
It really
is. To open, take your chips out sideways on the table.
Now, you've been a member of the All Things Comedy Network for a long time. You're one of the first. You're one of the very first guys that came on with Al and Bill when they first started.
Yeah.
And when you first came out, you've had I guess I want to say you started out with a radio show. Yeah. So because you were kind of at the beginning of podcasting.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Everyone thinks of. I mean, I think a lot of people think of Mark Maron as kind of the father, and Carolla as kind of the fathers of podcasting in a certain...
I'm not trying to suck up to Bill, but I think Bill is the first guy that was like... I mean, Carolla got kicked off of radio or whatever happened.
Right.
And Bill had his... I thought Bill was first, because I was in Al Madrigal's... I was at the Christmas party when Al told Maron, you should just do a podcast in your basement. Or in your garage.
Wow. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and I think Bill was already up and running.
Yeah,
then.
But you had a show that you used to do called the Harland Highway, which is still the name of your podcast.
Yeah.
But you used to do that for a radio station in Colorado.
I did the drive home show in Denver for a year. And
from your house, though. From your
house
in Laurel Canyon.
Yeah, that's right.
So you would record it. You would do it live, or you would do?
I would pre-record it, and then it was amazing because I would just send in the segments,
right,
and then they would air them every night, and I did it for a year, and then the contract ended, and then that was it for a year and a half or so. I just went silent, and then somehow some way I saw this podcasting thing happening by a couple of people, and I thought, man, that's right in my wheelhouse because I've already done radio and I really like the medium, and I've got a bunch of segments that all the bits I did on the radio show I owned, so I was able to inject those into a podcast, like little sketches and stuff. And so that made up part of the podcast, and so I thought I'll try podcasting. So I was probably in the stand-up comedy world in the States, maybe in Canada too. I I think I was kind of one of the earlier guys, maybe the first 5 or 10 to kind of get into it. So my podcast, The Harland Highway, is still up and running to this day. I think I'm in my 6th year or something.
Yeah, because it seems like you, Bill, and I think Carolla only did it because he was kicked off. I mean, once he lost his radio gig.
But but his thing that was awesome was he made it where people then realized that people are podcasting.
Right. Yeah.
It was like it was a big deal that it was like, oh, what's he going to do? Well, I'm going to podcast, and people are like, oh, what's that? And then he had a nice platform. But I think it's so really interesting that you're in Laurel Canyon, and it's like it's a blizzard in Denver, and you're like, how's the traffic?
Yeah. It was weird.
Did you ever pretend like, oh, it's a hell of a time getting to work today?
No, and I think that was probably why the gig only lasted a year, because it was a little bit tough to get a feel of the community not being there, and I think they wanted that.
Denver's a weird community to get it. Not a weird community, but
they're very into Denver because they're so isolated up there on the mountain.
Yeah.
So the fact that I kind of didn't have that hands-on touch, I think, even though we did really well, we brought the ratings up to number 2, and we did really well. But at the end of the day, we only did 1 year. So, but it was kind of the catalyst for me to jump into podcasting because I was already kind of all revved up and go, man, I like that kind of gig,
and nothing like having a bunch of bits all ready to roll.
And the equipment too. They hooked me up with a studio in my house, so I was like primed to go, and it's something I always wanted to do. My first album when I was in stand-up comedy, it was like in the 80s. I did a cassette. I was one of the few guys that sold merchandise. I got into that real early too, and I did a cassette that was basically, it was called When Rhubarb Turns to Radish, and it was basically, it was a spoof of radio. It was my wacky interpretation of a radio station, and that's exactly what I'm doing now all these years later. So I was kind of, had I had an outlet to podcast in the 80s, I probably would have started right then, but it didn't exist, so it's a full circle.
And do you think podcasting is, I mean, it seems like there's just so much out there and so much content out there. What's changed from when you started to where you are now? Has anything changed with your podcast? Anything like have you found it harder? Because I mean, obviously it's difficult.
Yeah.
It's difficult now. Yeah. I mean, we have absolutely the best podcast in the world, and it's difficult to find. It's difficult to build these massive audiences. Yeah. Like you have like Rogan or you have Burr. And you have these ones that there's the top ones, and then I think everything else just kind of falls a little. Not necessarily, not saying that any of them are bad, because I think most podcasts are good because it's someone's opinion. Yeah, and I think they're all valid. Yeah, I don't think you can look at any podcast and say that's awful, because it's their opinion.
Yeah.
I'm being very nice today. What the fuck?
Well, because I mean, basically, podcasting is in general, it's killing time. It's what people do when they're in their Stairmaster. It's when I listen in the car when I'm driving. Like, it's like so if we can remotely entertain anybody and hopefully we're entertaining people, then that's all it's about. It doesn't. I mean, I think I thought the bar is low, but I mean, I think it's like it's just you just have to be, you know what I mean. I don't know, Harland, can you speak to this without so I don't dig a bigger hole.
Dig a bigger hole? Okay.
No. I think really what's happened is it's become an easy medium for guys, with zero budget. A guy with no money in his pocket could basically, for $100 rig up a podcast setup,
right,
and go from obscurity to sending his voice out globally, which is quite a spectrum to encompass. And so I think what's happened is a lot of people have jumped in. Like everybody who has a stand-up comedy set pretty much has a podcast now, and why not? Everyone should have a chance to do what they want to do. But in that process, it's watered everything down a lot. So the field of people listening to podcasts is thinned out a lot. So as you guys alluded to, it's tough to grab those big numbers and have an audience, but Carolla had a great platform to come from. He took over for Howard Stern on CBS. Joe Rogan, UFC guy, I mean, huge audience. Mark Maron kind of built his up from, He came from that Air America radio thing.
He was from Air
But
America.
not to say that that's what did it for them, but it certainly helps when you have a real a real place to advertise your presence
I mean, I think, and not to just keep blowing Bill, but I think that's what makes Bill special, is because he really built it up on that, just how kind of in stand up, like guys like Attell and like Hedberg really build up just being the best guys on the road.
Yeah, like
it's like the cream completely rose to the top. And that's what I think, I think it's this hard work and just being the best at it, which is kind of what podcasting can be too. It's kind of like, if we have a good show, then hopefully people listen and pass it along. It's like it's survival of the fittest.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And I do like, you look at the guys and it's funny too, and you mentioned Attell, because he hates podcasts. He's one of the people that, he cracks me up. He rarely does them, and when he does, he shits on them the whole time he does them. So
I would never ask him to do this.
I would. I've asked him, and he won't do it.
Who's this?
Dave Attell.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
and he's funny.
Yeah,
the way I think he did Ari's once, and the whole time he was on it, he's like, "Oh, you're a little microphone boy," and just kind of shit on the whole podcast thing. But it's funny
because he'll make me realize that I'm not writing enough. That's what he always does.
Yeah.
It's like looking in the mirror. It's like Attell knows. It's like Attell knows you're not writing enough.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you're wasting time on that podcast. I saw your set.
Yeah. So let's talk about some stuff.
But the other thing that's hard about podcasting too, though, is we're lucky that Cort's a man of the world and he knows a lot of great people. So we got to have you. It's really hard to get people to do podcasts.
It is?
That are like funny and great guests. I think so. Right? I think that's
I think it's harder to like you'll have somebody on and they'll be on two other podcasts. They'll be like, "This is my week, I'm going to do podcasts." So you'll have them on, and then two other guys have the same guy doing the podcast. You did Corolla this week, but we'll take Corolla's trash. We'll take Corolla's trash.
Right.
But it's interesting that you kind of see it happen in, it's kind of like, this guy, he's on this and he's on this. So I try to we try to never talk about stand-up comedy. We try not to talk about stand-up comedy, even though we have stand-up comedians, because I just find that it's like, who fucking cares, man? If you want to don't talk about stand-up comedy. Go watch stand-up comedy.
Sure, yeah.
But that's why I love talking to you, is because we talk about some of the Farrelly Brothers stuff and the animation and your
racquetball dominance.
Yeah, and your complete insane behavior in public places.
Yeah.
Which to me is just, if you're ever anywhere and you see Harland, please approach him.
Oh, thanks.
And please go up and you can, you're very weird. You don't like to shake people's hands.
No.
Which is very weird. I mean, not very weird, but it's like, but you do shake some people's hands.
Not often. But it's
usually he fist bumped. I like a fist bump.
Yeah, but he fist bumps unless they're rich, and then you'll shake their fucking hand in a heartbeat. No.
I always do the fist bump.
You like to do the fist bump, and it's funny too to watch people come up to you and you're like, and you see them shaking your hand and you just got your fist up. You're like, "Hey, buddy," and it's like, and you see the disappointment in their eyes, like, "Oh, he's not going to shake my hand."
Well, what turned that? Is that a Canadian Howie Mandel germ thing?
No, it's like I'll have to talk about stand up for a second, but I shake when you do stand up, and when people recognize you, you end up shaking thousands and thousands of hands a year.
Right.
Tens of thousands possibly. Because everyone wants to line up after your shows and shake.
Like last night, I couldn't wait to get home and wash my hands.
Yeah.
That's all I thought about for an hour.
Yeah. So what happens is the odds of you getting a virus from a handshake, which is how most cold and flu viruses are transferred, your odds go through the roof. And I've started to find myself getting the flu or a cold like 4 or 5 times a year. And I'm a healthy guy. And I thought, this has to be coming from something. And I realized it's probably this. So since I've been doing the fist bumping, I hardly ever get colds or flus anymore. It's amazing.
Well, go up and find Harland, give him a good fist bump.
Yeah.
Give him a fist bump, tell him all about everything. Now, this weekend, this Saturday night, we are going to be in Corona.
Yeah.
And what's the name of the place in Corona?
It's the M15 Concert Hall and Grill, and it's a great venue. It's like a newer, really clean and nice concert hall. Well, traditionally they do like big bands and stuff out there. But this weekend, it's me, you, and Sean Tweedley.
Yep.
And maybe we'll get into our underpants again.
I hope so.
And we're gonna do. We're gonna kill it, man. We're gonna do a great show, and it's gonna be. Sean's gonna MC. You're gonna come out and kill it. Do half an hour. I'm gonna come out, do like 50 minutes, and then Sean's going to come back out at the end, and Sean and I are going to do some improv, like whose line is it type of thing.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to say is you got to check it out, because when Sean and him get together and they do shows together, they always end it with their improv stuff, and it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, we have a blast.
And it's fun to see. So check out Harland. Check out his podcast, The Harland Highway. It's on All Things Comedy. And at
harlandwilliams.com.
And at Harland Williams, yeah, go to there, and you can also go there for the link. And I'm going to tweet out the link for the tickets for for Corona. And Joe, what's going on, buddy? I know you're heading out.
Going East Coast next week. Me and Paul Verzi of All In Tour fame. Me and the band getting back together. We will be in the Hartford Funny Bone next week.
Okay.
And then the week after that, we're at the Syracuse Funny Bone.
Okay, so check it out. You can go to Joe's Twitter at Joe Bartnick, or Paul Verzi's. Check out Verzi's website.
Yeah, he's a great podcast too.
Yeah, the Verzi Effect. Check that out. And so
and
look
this Saturday, it's me, Al, Bill, Kira Sultanovich. I love the chick. I can't say her name right. And
Kira Sultanovich,
Doug Benson. And somebody else will all be at Nerd Melt. So
that's right. So check out. It's the ATC.
I'll fly my nerd flag. I don't know. I like getting stoned looking at comic book covers.
It's the All Things Comedy live.
Never seen all the Star Wars
live podcast. So you want to check that out. And I'll be with Harland this weekend. Now next week, you guys, I want to let you know that we're going to be in the studio and we're going to be streaming live video with a very famous, legendary drummer, Kenny Arnoff, who's drummed for Mellencamp, Fogarty. He's drummed for a million people.
You recognize his face and tattoos when you see him.
And we'll be streaming it live, and we'll have numbers you can call in and talk live as well. So check that out. And you guys, thanks so much for and Harland, thank you, brother, for being here.
Thanks for having you. Bang!
I got a fist bump.
Let's go get some Pringles.
Harland, thank you, man.
Thank you.
Literally, we had a great guest. That's what I mean.
Guest.
We did Adam Carolla.
Yeah,
it's like he did the Tonight Show. Now he's coming here.
Yeah, exactly. He's
coming here. Really, it's like he's coming here for us. Thank you, man.
Yeah, this is
seriously,
thanks for
it. Great, man.
Seriously,
awesome.
I love it.
Like I said, Dumb and Dumber. Something About Mary, Half Baked.
Yeah, there you go.
And Pringles.
Well, that's still like that blew my mind. I don't even know what.
And look
that's
for
like magic. That's scary. I was in the writers' room. I was in the writers' room, and this guy was like one of these people that does mental stuff.
Yeah.
And it was and he knew my grandfather's name. You think of one person.
Oh, no shit.
And he said, and I thought he is Dominic, and literally, like, I'm not trying to, like, all the brothers in the writing room, he's a the dude was a mentalist. Like, he knew all this crazy stuff.
Fuck. Well,
he was nuts.
Whoa. Well, listen, you guys, thanks so much. And check out the new Olive Garden on Los Hannigan Melrose.
Yeah, right on the corner.
You're right on the corner. I'll be the night manager.
Endless salad bar.
Yeah, I'll be handing out breadsticks because I am the night manager.
Wednesday night?
Wednesday night, all the breadsticks you can eat for free.
Good.
This is Insensitivity Training. I'm Cort McCown.
I'm Joe Bartnick.
Thank you guys and have a great week. You guys and have a great week. You guys and have a great week. You guys.